Hey besties, listen up. I have a secret to tell you. LinkedIn now has improved the job search experience for nurses. Search by your specialty, the shifts you want to work, and the salary that you want to make. With so many employers hiring on LinkedIn, finding the perfect job is even more simplified. So don't spend months searching. Go to linkedin.com/nurses and find out why in the past year, more than 1.5 million nurses have used LinkedIn to search for their next role. That's linkedin.com/nurses.
Today's episode is brought to you by SalesCred Pro, the strategic resource for B2B sales that fortifies your credibility and accelerates the trust building needed for building successful business relationships. Get your free 7-day trial now at salescred.com/pro. Welcome to the Manage Smarter podcast with hosts C. Lee Smith and Audrey Strong. We're glad you're here for discussions on new ways to manage smarter, hire, develop, and retain talent, improve results, and propel team performance to new heights. This is the Manage Smarter podcast.
Lee, one of the things that we like to talk about is team building with all different kinds of personalities and skills and skill levels and career, trajectories, what that's about. And also, we've kind of been on an AI jam lately, and this person has some thoughts too about AI efficiencies relating to team building and also retail and some other things.
Well, we've been on a healthcare kick too lately too. So we've had a couple great guests and talked about neurodiversity in the workplace, for example, from the mental health perspective. So we're going to get a different angle on the healthcare side of things today. And also, by the way, a great retailer, right? Mm-hmm. Who really built, his single practice into, one of the top retail organizations for his sector. And, so really excited. Lots of different areas in which we can explore here today.
You're in for a treat, everybody. Thanks for coming to the Manage Smarter podcast. I'm Audrey Strong. I'm the Senior Vice President of Communications here at Sales Fuel.
And I'm C. Lee Smith. I'm the founder and CEO of Sales Fuel.
Okay, so John D. Marvin, a visionary entrepreneur, acclaimed columnist. His columns are excellent, y'all. And influential leader dedicated to empowering others to unlock their full potential. He is the president and CEO of Texas State Optical and has cultivated a thriving business network while spearheading initiatives in health and wellness consulting, as well as eye care partnerships. He's got a steadfast commitment to personal growth and has spent years studying the transformative power of mindset, which, by the way, he says rules everything. Everything is secondary to mindset. And the inner game you play to achieve success. John, thanks for coming. This is going to be an excellent discussion.
Well, it's my pleasure to be here, Audrey, and good to spend time with you and Lee.
Well, thank you. So one of the things that we like to ask guests first is, how did you get into where you are now? Like, what was the match that lit the fire to get into this area that you're working with consulting and the State Optical?
Well, I think the thing that probably put me on this path as much as anything is I got fired. I got fired back in the early 90s from a job that I had taken that kind of forced me to make some entrepreneurial type decisions. And that led to a sequence of events that ultimately put me in a position to be very involved with Texas State Optical, and then ultimately led to an opportunity to leave the organization in the late 90s. So I grew up in Western Kansas. I had really decided on a career in marketing and advertising, and pursued that at the university, and then went into that field in the late 70s and early 80s, and found that it really wasn't something that I wanted to build an entire career with. And so at my father's suggestion, my father is a family physician, practiced for 50 years. And at his suggestion, I looked into pharmaceutical sales. And that's what ended up with GD Searle. And as a result of that opportunity, led me to a large ophthalmology clinic in Wichita, Kansas. And I took a position with that, which ultimately introduced me to an ophthalmologist in Houston, Texas. And I came to that, and then through that relationship, met Texas State Optical. And so then it was just a series, but it was the a turning point when I got terminated from a consumer research firm in Houston that I had been really involved with and excited about, but it created opportunities. And, again, I go back to this whole concept of mindset.
Right.
How I responded at that moment
Mm-hmm.
could have taken me down two different paths.
Yeah,
And I just decided, can't hurt me at this point,
Yeah, right.
You told a really good story. I saw somewhere about two kids, and one kid had a bad attitude and was dropped into a room full of toys, and one kid that had a great attitude, unshakable, everything like that, and dropped him into I don't know what, a barn full of horse manure. It's like, how does that story go?
Well, it was a parent, two parents, mother and father, and they were concerned that their twin sons were so different in the way that they conducted themselves, behaved. One was extremely optimistic about everything, and the other one was extremely pessimistic. So they took their two sons to a local psychiatrist to help them better understand this, and he suggested an experiment in an effort to try to mitigate or reduce the extremes in either child. Try to make the optimistic child a little more realistic, try to make the pessimistic child a little more positive. And so they suggested to put the pessimist child in a room full of presents, wrapped presents, and the optimistic child in a room full of horse manure. And set a timer and gave them each an hour and came back to see the results. We went to the room with the little boy with the presents, and every present was unwrapped, and he was sitting in the midst of all these toys crying.
Oh,
And when they asked, "What are you crying about?" he said, "Because all of these toys are going to break. I'll get tired of playing with them. Then I'll have all of this stuff to deal with and all these toys. And I'm not interested. I'm not excited." And so they thought, well, this is amazing. And they walked down the hallway and they looked in the room with the little boy in the room with horse manure. And boy, horse manure was flinging and flying all over the room. And this little boy was running back and forth in the room, throwing horse manure up in the air and laughing and giggling. And they said, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, what's the matter? What are you doing?" He said, "Well, I figured with all this manure in here, there's got to be a pony somewhere." And the point of the story is you want to wake up every morning looking for the pony.
yes.
And
Yes.
Even if it
and
means sifting through all the horse manure.
that's right, because there is a pony there somewhere. And as long as another good friend of mine made a comment one time that I thought was simple but also insightful, and that is, you know what? You will find what you look for. And I agree with that. I believe that in a big way. So that's my story, Lee, about the optimist and the pessimist.
Yeah, I'm what I really want to know is like, I mean, how you grew Texas State Optical into, what it is today, and what were some of the things that you feel like you did right in growing that business, and maybe a couple things that you wish you could have done over again.
Oh, wow. Well, I'll try to simplify it. First of all, um, I feel like all I did was to create an opportunity because Texas State Optical is a brand license company. We have an iconic brand that is over 88 years old in the state of Texas. And at one time in the mid 60s had over 300 locations. And today we're at just under 100 locations. And over that time, it originally was only owned by four brothers. It was a private company. And then it was sold to Monsanto. I think Audra mentioned that earlier, but it was sold to Monsanto. And then it ended up being sold to Pearl Vision, and who turned it into a traditional franchise organization. And ultimately, Pearl sold it, and it ended up in the hands of the franchisees. They bought it. I was involved in the negotiation of the acquisition, myself and two doctors. We decided when we acquired it, I don't have any equity in it. I'll tell you that. I mean, it's important to disclose that. But we decided that we were going to do two things. One, we were going to turn it into a member-owned cooperative. So every location would be a shareholder in the corporation. And then the second thing we were going to do was take it, no longer continue as a franchise, but operate as a brand license company. Take this brand that had real value and consumer equity in it and turn around and loan it or license it to private practice optometry to get the benefit of all of that consumer equity and consumer value. Mm. And so when those changes were made, we had an organization of just at 100 locations, and our average age was in the upper 50s. Today, our average age is in the upper 30s.
Wow.
And even though our total net growth has not moved, we've totally organized the company around younger optometry, which gives it an opportunity for longevity. Otherwise, we would have gone the way of Montgomery Ward's, Blockbuster, other really cherished nostalgic brands, Kodak, with losing relevance. We just didn't have any relevance anymore.
So a classic adapt or die story.
Exactly. Yeah. And so that in the we bought it in 2001. In the early 2000s, and that's when I became president, 2001. In the early 2000s, what was to me obvious that who our core target were young optometrists coming out of school or maybe been out of school a couple of years and had a desire to own their own practice, but did not have any ability or understanding how to do that. Right. So we put together a turnkey system that you own your own business, we'll help you get it open, you license the brand from us, and you'll grow with our support and guidance and direction. And while we were up to 120 plus locations right before 2020, but you'd think the pandemic might have had some negative effect. In fact, it did not. It had positive. But what did have impact was private equity discovered optometry in the late teens, 2019, 2018. And in 2020, they came into Texas and through consolidation, were buying up all these independent practices, and they bought 36 of our largest practices.
Oh, wow.
So we are in a repositioning, reset, and rebuilding back again. But that's just it. I mean, things happen. Business doesn't stay static. So you got to be able to adapt or, as Lee said earlier, die. So that's kind of where we're at today.
I'm seeing a lot of articles for young optometrists and ophthalmologists in your Envision trade publication, which you write columns for. And that was an excellent read. It was very interesting. And one of the things that one of your team, I don't think you wrote about this, but one of your writers wrote about AI being used to diagnose diabetes, screen for diabetes. And you see some other things coming down the line. And I know you wanted to talk about that. Since you seem to be excellent at shape-shifting with current conditions, this is a freight train that's already blowing past and into all of us. So what are you telling some of your all of your members, actually? The younger ones, they'll probably taking to it a little bit more kindly, I would assume, about artificial intelligence in eye care.
Yeah. Well, I think that you first have to understand the impact of artificial intelligence in healthcare. And we are simply one aspect of that. But for instance, anytime a central part of the healthcare is understanding images. You go in and you get a CT scan, or you get a MRI or you get an X-ray. Well, the traditional system is that there's been somebody, a doctor, a radiologist, who looks at those images and then creates a report as to what that means. And we've already seen that artificial intelligence is much better at reading imagery and creating conclusions and writing reports as to what is included in that imagery. That's established. And so the question then becomes, how do you utilize that to your advantage, but more importantly, to your patient's advantage? And a lot of optometry is in the diagnostic side of things, is looking at images and understanding images. And so we've seen artificial intelligence and technology significantly improve the delivery of care in optometry. And it does so not instead of optometrists, but in addition to or in combination with optometrists. It's really, one of the ways I explain it is the difference between a hammer you swing and a nail gun. They both will do the same job, but you put a nail gun in the hands of a good carpenter, and he can do a lot better job than a good carpenter with a hammer he swings. And so artificial intelligence is our new nail gun, so to speak, in optometry. And to the degree people are not threatened by it, but embrace it and use it, will really not only help them in their practice, but most importantly, provide a higher level of care for consumers, for customers and patients. And so I see that as the opportunity.
What are you doing then with the Texas State Optical then to help your members then further embrace AI or to expose them to all the benefits that await them if they choose to?
Well, in a lot of cases with optometry, it's not a matter of are you using AI or aren't you? It's a matter of to what degree are you? Because a lot of the new diagnostic equipment has already been programmed with aspects of artificial intelligence. For instance, the classic piece of equipment that they swing in front of your face that's got the big holes in it.
Right.
People say, which is better, one or two?
A or B.
Right. Fuzzy one or fuzzy two. Yeah.
Yeah, that's called a phoropter, PHORTOPET, phoropter. And right now we're using a digital phoropter that the optometrist does a subjective refraction. He sits there and spins the dials and which is better, one or two. And when he gets it dialed in, the software with that phoropter has the ability to digitize that refraction down to 1/100th of a measurement of a diopter, when a human can only get to about 1/4 of a diopter.
Oh, wow.
So that's already being used. And so it's a matter of incorporating equipment that is utilizing this type of software and technology. There's a lot of imagery technology right now that's incorporating artificial intelligence to not only create the image, but give you notes about the image, so to speak. And so we are encouraging that. A big area we're really excited about, though, is in the customer service side.
Mm.
And because a lot of this interface with ours is a retail business, it is. And we're in retail settings. We have foot traffic into the locations. People, 60 to 70 cents out of every dollar is from the retail piece of our business.
Mm.
And so customer service is center and not traditionally a strength in healthcare. I think we could all agree on that. And so what we're utilizing is automated operation from a auto attendant. Imagine the ability to call one of our locations at 10 o'clock at night and talk to somebody and schedule an appointment for the next morning. And we're doing that today through artificial intelligence answering the telephone with such sophistication that you would not know it's not a human.
Oh,
Got
wow.
personality. You can ask it anything you want and it will answer. It can also, in a real-time situation, actually book your appointment, confirm it, and verify your insurance all in the same phone call. And it's a game changer in terms of being able to deliver the service level. We can coordinate it with our optical lab. All you want to know is, when are my glasses going to be ready? It can check in real time and tell you they're scheduled to be here Thursday afternoon at 2:00. Would you like for me to set an appointment for you to come in and pick up your eyewear? So we're looking for every opportunity, not again to replace anybody, but to enhance the experience that our patients and consumers have with us.
Makes sense. Your website is tso.com. We've got about a minute left. Lee, you always like to take the last question. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I'm curious. It's like, so in addition to AI, what are some of the other, or, what's one or two other big changes that you see happening on the landscape for the healthcare industry?
Well, one of the big challenges right now is the shortage of optometry. It's difficult. Optometry schools are not attracting qualified applications they're not quite enough qualified applicants to fill their classes. Optometry, a traditionally entrepreneur profession, is now turning into one of a more part-time employment profession. And with the demand on optometry the way it is, when you've got graduates who are not even interested in a full-time job, but a part-time job, it puts a real crunch on availability for you to open another location. Doctors aren't interested in the entrepreneurial opportunity as much as they were. And so what we're seeing now is the utilization of technology to come in and fill that void. Through one of the more prevalent applications is remote exam technology. So company we work with called Digital Optometrics employs a number of optometrists across the country on a panel. We have equipment in our office so you can come in to get your exam, and you are having a doctor that you may be living in Dallas, the doctor may be in Houston, and you're getting your exam with them and you're talking to them on an iPad. And they're controlling all of the equipment. It's exactly the same experience as you would have with the doctor in the room with you. They're just not in the room with you.
It's so
it's
interesting.
the
What's
same
happening.
exam.
Someday there'll be holographs. So
Could be. But I mean, we didn't do this. We were forced into this type of utilization because we don't have the optometrists to be able to fill all these positions. So anyway, that's something else.
Yeah, no, it's fascinating. At TSO Inc. is the X handle, everybody. JD Marvin on LinkedIn, TSO.com. John, I have a whole new appreciation for my optometrist after speaking with you today. And this has really been very interesting. I'm so glad that you came and spent some time with us today. We appreciate it.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much for the invitation, and anytime.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the show, please rate and recommend on iTunes, Overcast, or wherever you get your podcasts. You can also get more great information at salesfuel.com.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.